Holy what a ride in 4DX. Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I'm reviewing Red 1. Red 1 is the latest Christmas action comedy film. It stars J.K. Simmons, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Chris Evans. In this, a jacked Santa Claus gets kidnapped, and it's up to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Chris Evans to find him. And I gotta say, this is just bad, cheesy action. It's very reminiscent of early 2000s action films that went nowhere. Outside of a few saving graces such as Chris Evans's charm, some surprising and really good makeup work, and the occasional clever laugh and joke, this film is just so devoid of any true personality, and it feels so much more like a corporate entity film. It's just a major misfire to me. Granted, it's not as bad as many other critics have been saying, although I was going into the film rooting for it, so maybe that boost it up a little bit. But genuinely, what saved this film outside of those three things was that I watched this in 4DX. 4DX, for those that don't know what it is, it's basically like this ride simulator but for an entire film. Sometimes it's great and really fun, and sometimes it's just a bit too much, and this one's kind of a mixed bag. There are moments where it's really going at it, and then there's a lot of times where you're just kind of sitting still, forgetting you're watching in a 4DX theater. But I gotta say, if I wasn't watching this press screening in a 4DX theater, I think I would have liked the movie a lot less. So much of the fun came from the communal experience of just getting jostled around like crazy. And there was this baby that was next to me and my friend that I went to the screening with. That poor baby. That's all I'll say, but that poor baby. The baby's okay, but during the screening, that baby was going everywhere. But back to the film at hand, so much of this just doesn't work for me personally. A lot of it is the humor that I didn't find necessarily funny, but there were a lot of people around me that were enjoying it. So I do think that this plays to the millennial/Gen X crowd a lot better than it does to me. But in general, this feels like a throwback to an era of way worse blockbusters. And honestly, the poor CGI in here kind of resembles that, especially when you're looking at the reindeer and that polar bear, who's a talking character, by the way. But that's also where I get pretty confused by this film, because there's some really good makeup work in here, especially for a certain character that I didn't know was going to be in this film, so I'm not going to spoil who it is here, but you'll definitely know who I'm talking about. And especially that scene that this character is interested in, there's so much great makeup work in there that it makes it truly confusing when you see so much poor CGI just throughout the rest of the film. Anyways, another reason I was rooting for this movie, by the way, was that I want a genuinely good new Christmas movie. The last new one that I saw that I actually genuinely like is Klaus on Netflix, which is a beautiful animated film, but I didn't get to see it in theaters. And during Christmas time, you always get all these wonderful classics, but it's time for some newer stuff, honestly. But unfortunately, after leaving this film, I'm still wanting that very thing. But let me touch on those positives real quick. Chris Evans, his charm, his Boston accent, he just has a lot of fun in this role at times, and it's in those moments where you at least feel like you're watching something with some good personality. I already touched on the makeup, but again, that makeup just, it looks great at points. And for the final point, it did get me to chuckle a few times. It's not a hilarious movie to me, but if it's your type of humor, I'm sure it'll work very well for you. And even outside of Chris Evans, I still did chuckle a couple of times, so it does work to some degree. But getting back into the negatives, I just feel like so many talented actors that are in this, such as, once again, Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons, and Kieran Shipka. Well, Chris Evans does pretty well, but the other two are just severely wasted to me. The Rock in this, you do get a better performance than I ever thought you would, but he still doesn't, it's still missing a layer to him. And as for Lucy Liu, I have no idea what they did with her. All in all, though, as a film, it's not as bad as people are making out to seem, but it is still not good in the slightest. I'm sure many people will have fun with this, especially if you're a family with some older kids like in their tweens to teen years. I think a good amount of that demographic might find some fun things in this. But for me personally, and for many others, I think it's not going to be a great film. And in fact, I know for myself, I don't see this as a good to great to even decent movie, which is unfortunate because I wanted this to surprise me, especially after hearing so many bad things. I wanted this to at least work decently for me. But either way, I give Red 1 a 1 out of 5 stars. It's not the worst film I ever seen, and it's not even the worst film I saw this year. There are plenty worse films than this. But if you have a feeling you're not going to like this movie, then I don't think you should be checking it out. But if you saw the trailers and the promotional material and you think you might like it, then you probably will. But alright, those are my thoughts on Red 1. Be sure to let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Also, just let me know what your favorite Christmas movie is. My personal favorite is Gremlins, but if you know me, you knew that. But anyways, as always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.